Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're talking about yet another show at the Netflix streaming service that's getting woke beyond recognition. Recently, Netflix aired a special revival episode of the famous 1990s Nickelodeon cartoon series Rocko's Modern Life. And this went pretty wrong for a number of reasons. First of all, it's on Netflix, and they've been screwing things up for a good long while now. Sure, they still have some hits over there like Stranger Things, and they have some interesting things to watch like Ozark and Altered Carbon, but the large majority of Netflix's shows these days are either terrible, unwatchable, or they're woke and SJW driven, pushing liberal propaganda, and it's becoming a nightmare. And from the looks of this new Rocko's Modern Life reboot, they could be seen as suffering from the latter again as well. A wokenization problem is certainly here, and we've also talked about this at Netflix and their growing left lean and also their coinciding decline extensively recently too in other videos. So for now, let's go ahead and move on to the specifics of this Rocko reboot situation. First things first though, let's explain what Rocko's Modern Life even is. This is an animated show that's been off the air for about 23 years after all, so it's time for a bit of a refresher course to say the least. Rocko's Modern Life is an American animated television series created by Joe Murray for Nickelodeon. This series centers on the surreal life of an anthropomorphic Australian immigrant wallaby named Rocko and his friends, the gluttonous steer Heifer, the neurotic turtle Filbert, and Rocko's faithful dog Spunky. It is set in the fictional town of O-Town. Throughout its run, the show was controversial for its adult humor, including double entendre, innuendo, and satirical social commentary similar to the Ren and Stimpy show. The show also launched the careers of voice actors like Carlos Alazraqui and Tom Kenny. And after Rocko's cancellation, much of the staff regrouped to work on SpongeBob SquarePants, created by Rocko's creative director and voiced by Tom Kenny himself, who worked on both Rocko and now SpongeBob. So clearly Rocko's Modern Life was a major milestone for not only TV animated sitcoms, but also for its network Nickelodeon itself. Rocko's Modern Life was, in its time, a worthy complementary show to the world-famous Ren and Stimpy show. And also, as we just went over, Rocko was also a big precursor to the much bigger and critically acclaimed and still ongoing hit animation show SpongeBob SquarePants. So, needless to say, this is a pretty legendary cartoon with a lot of goodwill and positive history in the industry and with its fans. And that's what makes this reboot revival special even more worrisome now, because if it's not done properly and really well, it's surely going to let a lot of people down. In fact, I would say the hopes people would have for this kind of return could almost never be met, and perhaps this shouldn't have even happened. And well, actually, this almost didn't happen either. You see, the new revival of Rocko's Modern Life was originally mounted at the original network, Nickelodeon. They first commissioned the special over a year ago, and it was originally intended to air on Nick last year too. But as we can see, that plan was eventually scrapped, which is never a good sign, is it? I would also say bringing the show back for just one 1-hour special isn't a good sign either. If they were more confident about this and really wanted Rocko to make a big return, ordering at least a short season of say 6 to 8 episodes would have been a much better choice. But clearly, from the start, Nickelodeon was weary to go that far with this. That's why they just ordered a big 45-minute long episode, and then after seeing how it turned out, they even decided to not air it, all things considered. Yikes. And then now, 1 year after the Rocko Revival special was supposed to come out, well, it got ditched by Nickelodeon as we just went over, but Netflix decided to dig this thing up out of the trash, dust it off, and air it on their own currently dying streaming service. Because of course Netflix will air it. They'll air pretty much anything there nowadays. Kind of like that joke on South Park where they greenlight every single show that's pitched to them, even before they hear what the show's about. And needless to say, quality control over at Netflix is next to none. So sure, there's still a few good shows and some good rented content they borrow from other companies there, but there's also just this vast majority of stuff on Netflix that's totally unwatchable. Most of the shit there is garbage tier content that would never make it on television. Say what you will about broadcast cable, satellite, and premium cable, but they at least have some sort of standards. They don't want to waste their airtime with just anything, but Netflix doesn't have to worry about airtime. They stream on demand, so that's opened them up to put out any and everything they can think of, regardless of quality or demand. Now, I don't think the Rocko's Modern Life special is going to be that bad either, but it is a product of their we'll stream anything trend at Netflix. As we went over, the Rocko special was rejected by Nickelodeon, so it was demoted from cable television to being aired on online streaming at Netflix. Next, let's finally talk about the Rocko's Modern Life special itself, and what it's about and how it's getting woke as hell. The revival special is called Static Clean, and it's a new tale for the Rocko crew that tells the story of how, after being in space space for 20 years following the previous show's finale, well, now Rocko and his friends return to the late 2010s era O-Town with modern amenities such as constantly updating touchscreen phones, radioactive energy drinks, food trucks, and coffee shops on every corner. Rocko, who does not share Heifer and Filbert's enthusiasm for the 21st century, attempts to get his favorite television show The Fatheads back on the air, since it is the last remnant of his past. To do so, he goes on a quest to find Rachel Bighead, formerly known as Ralph, who was the creator of The Fathead Show, the show within the show on Rocko's Modern Life. And this is where things get pretty interesting, to say the least. The character Rachel Bighead actually used to be called Ralph. That's right, now we've got a transgender ma'am character in the new Rocko's Modern Life. What a goddamn joke this is. And it's no wonder Nickelodeon shelved this thing after hearing about this premise. What a stupid idea this was. And unless Rocko plans on goofing on this whole trans-trender thing going on in current year, this will definitely not turn out well for them. Really, from the looks of things, this whole ma'am character was actually brought in for the reasons you'd expect here, as a way for the show to virtue signal and get woke, so they can try and pander to liberals and SJWs in the public. This article here goes into more detail of how this all played out within the show. It says, after looking all over the world for Ralph, they finally find him as he drives up to them in an ice cream truck in the middle of a desert. After a discussion, Ralph agrees to bring back the Fatheads, but tells Rocko and his friends that since the last time he saw them, he had changed. "I'm not Ralph anymore," the character said, stepping outside the ice cream truck and letting down long hair. "I'm Rachel." Heifer and Filbert respond by saying, "Cool, that is awesome." "Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go," Rocko says. Rachel finally meets her father for the first time since transitioning, telling him that "I am not your son, I am your daughter." Mr. Bighead responded by saying, "This is crazy," and says, "No." Okay, well, I think we can all see where this is going now. As expected, Rocko is getting in on this pro-ma'am trend in the worst, most SJW way possible. It even appears to be part of the main plot of this whole special. Being a side story or a one-time gag would be one thing here too, but to make Rocko's Modern Life's whole return after 23 years be about a ma'am becoming an ice cream truck driver, well, that sounds pretty lame and a bit too woke for me. But it looks like the SJW pandering here is working, as this next part of the article describes this. The Netflix special's inclusion of a transgender character drew the praise of the National Center for Transgender Equality. This is very important and breaking news. A tweet from the organization reads, "One of our favorite characters on Rocko's Modern Life is a trans. Rocko's Modern Life is among a number of shows and programming that have introduced LGBT characters and storylines in recent years. In 2018, the CW introduced the first transgender superhero in its hit series Supergirl. The CW has also approved a lesbian Batwoman series. Headlines were made earlier this year when the popular PBS kids show Arthur featured an episode with Mr. Ratburn, the show's teacher, getting married to another man. Yeah, it sure is trendy to get woke on TV these days, but I wouldn't say that in a positive, commending way at all, especially not for Rocko's Modern Life. They are shamelessly trying to get in on these SJW-influenced liberal propaganda trends, in one of the cheapest attempts possible too. Sure, they may get some ass pats and a few radicals will watch the show because of this SJW baloney, but generally, overall, most people don't care about this bullshit, and many are actually turned off by it too, like many of us watching along here on this video on YouTube. And also, many of the hardcore original Rocko's Modern Life fans probably aren't into this either. Now, I like the show myself. I thought it was a great fun hit as a kid, but I'm certainly no super fan either. But regardless, I do see this as silly, unnecessary, and a little disrespectful to the original series. Like I said before, this is a one-time special revival, a 1-hour special, and its main plot point is going to be a pro-ma'am SJW thing. Wouldn't be so bad if this was a side story or a throwaway line or something, but this is the main plot. And it also wouldn't be as bad if it was just one episode within a full season, but that's not the case here. Rocko got woke with its one and only chance to return on Nickelodeon with a 1-hour special, and they went with this ma'am SJW bullshit. And I think that's why Nick actually shelved this whole thing to begin with. And now, Rocko's Modern Life getting woke is only seeing the light of day because Netflix is desperate for wokenized content. Finally, we got one more article from the worst of the worst. BuzzFeed.com decided to chime in on this Rocko story, and they made a pretty strong claim that I can't really get behind. Their article is called "People Are Loving the Trans Character in the New Rocko's Modern Life." Really? Are you sure people are actually loving this? And you make it sound like this is widespread acclaim when I think it's kind of a mixed bag, because I know I haven't heard one person say anything positive about this new ma'am-led Rocko reboot. But I am sure BuzzFeed and their pro-SJW writers, they will find and cherry pick a bunch of positive posts out there on Twitter or something, and then they'll frame it up as if everyone agrees and is stoked about this unanimously. We're not though, and the only ones who care or would cheer on a new ma'am character would would be the small vocal minority of woke SJWs out there who push this bullshit into everything. Next, BuzzFeed does exactly what I expected. They post some cherry-picked tweets of liberals gushing over this Rocko's Modern Life woke special. Here, Good Girl says, "I'm not saying the new Rocko's Modern Life static cling special is perfect or anything, but wow, this is special to see from a cartoon I grew up with." Then Missing Glitch says, "To all the people that worked on Rocko's Modern Life, thank you so much. The way you handled Rachel was so good. Maybe even the best I've seen depicted in a cartoon." If you say so, lady. And these fake sounding tweets keep going and going too. But one thing I noticed was they're all coming from female SJWs, and some were also coming from accounts with anime avatars and shit. Others even had rainbow LGBT flags in their handle as well. Typical left-wing woke stuff you see on Twitter all the time. But they always cheer on stuff like this these days too. They get excited about every single girl, minority, gay, or ma'am that's added to every project. But I highly doubt these kinds of Twitter people are actual fans and viewers of the content they're promoting. Really, they're just opportunists who virtue signal when a project gets woke like this, and then they try and pretend everyone else is in on it when they're really not. Really, the fans of Rocko's Modern Life are actually more nerdy, straight white males like myself. Rocko wasn't a show that many girls watched in the 90s. Not really. Sure, some may have, but it was clearly more male-centered like many of its fellow shows on Nickelodeon. Girls watched things like My Little Pony and played with Barbies back in the 90s, while guys, we watched Ren and Stimpy, Doug, and Rocko's Modern Life, amongst others. But now that we've all grown up, and the girls who eventually became SJWs by a great majority, well, they're pretending to like the new Rocko because it's pandering to liberals like them now. While on the other side, us guys and the actual fans were a bit worried and kind of upset too, because this is kind of the opposite of what Rocko used to be about. And fake news sites like BuzzFeed, they just want to pretend fans like us don't exist. In the end, there's really no denying that Netflix is getting woke once again. So despite them failing and losing subscribers and market share recently, most likely because they're getting so liberal leaning and in your face about it, well, despite all that, they're airing the woke Rocko's Modern Life episode that even Nickelodeon passed on. We'll see how it all plays out going forward, I guess, but I gotta say, I'm not very impressed. What do you guys think? Is Netflix and Rocko getting woke? Should the show even come back after so long, and should it come back like this? I definitely don't think it should have come back with a lame as hell pro-SJW ma'am storyline like what's been presented. But go ahead and comment your own thoughts on everything below. And thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.